Hello, welcome. In today's video I'm going to compare 15 50mm rangefinder lenses, mostly vintage lenses, and I'm going to see how important it is to use a lens hood. Most of these lenses were designed to use with film, but I'm going to use a Leica SL to do my testing so we can see side-by-side results. I've got a range of lenses. I just grabbed kind of a pile out the cupboard, and I want to see the importance of whether a longer hood will give us better photos in particular. That was kind of the inspiration for this, and it doesn't matter if you use digital or film, all that coming up. Hey guys, Matt here from MrLeica.com. So yes, before we get started, I should probably give you a bit more of a backstory as to how this test came about. Originally it was for my patrons, and then it got slightly bigger and bigger and out of hand. So after recently getting lucky on eBay and picking up this Leica 3F 1934 with box and case, I wanted to see if I can actually use the original uncoated Leica Almar lens. I have got other similar cameras, and I want to see which of these lenses will perform the best for my style of shooting. Now this reminded me of a video by a guy called Bayliss, a fellow YouTuber. I can link his video below, really good, where he talked about the James Revillis's camera setup, where he had a kind of a special homemade hood to allow him to shoot into the light with these vintage uncoated lenses and still get a contrasty look. Bayliss's interest was recreating a replica of James Revillis's lens, but for me I wanted something simpler where I didn't need to use Meccano, and I don't think I'm quite as skilled as Bayliss. Now if you see my Instagram before, you know I shoot models and I tend to prefer to shoot into the light. That's my preferred style. As you can see from these photos shot on film, these taken with the Leica M3, all shooting into the light, so I need lenses that perform shooting into the light, because otherwise I'm not going to get very good pictures basically with these vintage cameras. So with that in mind, my plan was to do a test shooting my lenses into a light source. I used an LED to replicate the sun, and I used my Leica 3F as my model. I had a particular lens hood in mind which I thought would do the job, so I wanted to compare it to normal lens hoods and no lens hoods and basically see how the different lenses compare. So the test, how was it performed? So first of all, I had the camera handheld, and I knew you guys would tell me off, so I redid the test, this time on a tripod. I'm using all lenses mounted on the Leica SL via a Light Lens Lab close focus adapter, and that helicoid allows me to micro adjust any lens so all lenses can be as sharp as possible at the given distance of roughly 1 meter. As I say, I used my Leica 3F as my model, focused on the writing of the lights on the lens itself, and then had a COB, like a high power LED kind of sun equivalent, pointing right directly into the lenses to try to see how much these lenses are going to flare in real world use. Now, as an ex-finance, ex-auditor turned YouTuber, testing and auditing kind of must be in the blood, because I find it very interesting, and I do this in my spare time anyway. So the specific criteria was shoot every lens at f3.5 to match the maximum aperture of the Leica Almar that you see in this picture, and then shoot every lens with and without a lens hood so I can see the difference on impact of whether a lens hood is going to help. I use normal lens hoods on most lenses, and then where it would fit, which is the Almars and the Industars, I use my 135mm hood extended to 135mm. This is a telescopic hood which you can probably find on eBay. It's designed to be used on all three lenses, but I'm using it at 13.5 centimeters on a 5 centimeter lens. Here's the results with and without. I think we've got a win here, but we'll do some more testing. Okay, let the testing commence. So originally I was going to test a couple of lenses, and that turned into a few more lenses, and yeah, it got a little bit out of hand, and it went from thinking of the idea of being a Patreon video to becoming a full on YouTube video. So first I wanted to compare the uncoated Almar to the multi-coated Almar, which is the nickel one and the chrome one, the first two lenses. Next I wanted to compare a Summitar, which is a 5 centimeter f2, very nice bokeh, but I think it will flare. Next an Industar, which is a Leica Almar clone, great value, and they come in slightly different models. I've got a 50 and a 22 there. Next a less common lens, a Helia 5 centimeter 3.5 collapsible, which came on the Bessa 101 anniversary model, so not so easy to find. And again, I wanted to see whether it's worth carrying that slightly larger lens instead of the Leica Almar kind of kit lenses that come in these vintage cameras. Next I wanted to try a Tessar, both coated and uncoated. Those are like the Soviet equivalent of an Albar, and they were kind of the smallest lens you can get on, say, a Kia 4 camera, They are Context RF mount, but you can use them on a Leica with a Context to Leica adapter. As you can see, I needed a bit more space. There's more lenses coming. Okay, there's my Context to Leica adapter. It's a LTM adapter, so I can use it on my screw mount cameras. And the lens I've just taken off is a Jupiter 8. Again, one of the cheapest 50mm lenses. You can get it in screw mount, so you don't necessarily need the adapter. That's a Sonar 51.5, great performer. I know that one should be one of the best ones, and perhaps the best of the test, maybe that one. That's a Nikon SC 51.4. I've always had great results. Next, the sibling lens, a Nikon HC 50f2. That's got a close focus ability. And then thinking of Japanese lenses, I then took grab some Canon lenses. So I've got the Canon 50 1.8 and the Canon 50 1.4. Then to finish off, I thought grab a model lens. So this is the Light Lens Lab Elican replica. So it's built to copy an old lens, but it's new. So I was interested to see how that will compare. Okay, next it's results time. So first, as mentioned, I'm using the Leica SL, shooting raw files DNG, and the photos I'm going to show you are unedited GNGs. So first, photos without a hood, and with, without, and with. You can see this is going to be a pretty impressive difference. So first, all lenses without lens hoods. These are the results. And then of the 15 lenses, those are the top 6 performers. Here are the worst 9 in terms of flare. And then I narrowed that down to the worst 6. Okay, so next let's try with lens hoods attached. We should see this definitely improve, especially the older lenses and the uncoated lenses, because they suffer more than modern lenses. So without lens hood, with lens hood. You see how most lenses are much similar now. Here's the top 8 performers, and then here's the top 5 of those 8, the same in colour. And then here's a close-up with all the lenses marked so you can see which is which. Maybe some surprises because the difference in price is quite dramatic. So of those top 5 results, how many benefited from my new hood? 3 of the 5, all the ones that would basically fit, benefited from the hood. So do you need a hood? It depends on the lens. Elmar, yes, as you can see from these photos. Whereas the Zeiss Opton Sonar, not necessarily, because it's got great T coating. The same for the Light Lens Lab, almost no difference with the hood or without. What about lens vignetting with this massive hood? I use the hood at different depths and there's no extra vignetting, so I think we're okay in that respect. But what about viewfinder blockage? So I set up 3 Leica 3 cameras, well, Leica 1, a Leica 2 and a Leica 3, and I used a extended hood, my kind of 135mm hood, a normal hood and no hood. And then for each camera setup, I looked through the fixed 50mm built-in viewfinder to see how much of the frame we can see. When you've got no hood, you can see the entire frame, as you can see in this example. When you attach a standard hood, the bottom portion of the image or the frame is slightly obscured from the hood itself, so that may be a problem. And then what about if you put a telescopic hood on? I fear this could be a problem. So attaching the hood, and then I'll fully extend it to see the worst possible result in terms of blockage, but the best possible result in terms of flare reduction. I've then attached a additional finder on the top, so if we can't see through the normal finder, we'll be able to hopefully see through the additional finder on the cold shoe. So let's take a look. So looking through a Leica 2F, this one, 2D, sorry, this one is, they all look very similar. I have done a video on these if you're interested. There's a viewfinder. You can get them made by Leica. This one's made by Vignetting, but it's just a bright line viewfinder basically. Again, you can find these on eBay. I can put some links below. So normal viewfinder and bright line viewfinder. With the additional viewfinder, you've got 0 blockage, but you have got quite a bit of blockage using the normal viewfinder, so I'd recommend using the additional finder. Now, if you use it like an M camera, expect to have some viewfinder blockage, so perhaps look at the additional viewfinder, but with mirrorless, obviously that's not going to be a problem. Okay, how about DNG versus an edit? So here's the unedited photos, just as a reminder, and here's on the right the unedited version with just one of my presets slapped on. Here's a zoom in to show quite how sharp this 1930s lens is, even wide open when using a long hood. Pretty remarkable. Okay, why do long shades work compared to regular hoods? So to recap, here you can see the 135mm hood, a standard 50mm hood and no hood. And then here are normal hoods from normal lenses. Some of them are kind of any hood that will fit. Some of them are the original hoods for the original lenses, such as the Helia, the Tessar, and one of the other ones. Okay, first, if you've got no lens hood, the light is obviously going to hit the glass at pretty much all angles. If you've got the sun in the 180 degrees in front of the camera. With a regular hood, as long as the sun's pretty high, it should block most of the problem and you shouldn't really have too much of an issue. However, when you've got low sun or you're shooting into low sun, which is what I try to do, having a longer hood means you can get that bit closer to shooting towards the sun and still protect the lens. So regular hoods are great in normal circumstances, but in this specific instance where you like shooting towards a light source, it's going to allow you to get hopefully some better results with less or no flare compared to the completely washed out photos we saw without the lens hood being used. Now for us men, we're often told that size matters, but it's actually also true when it comes to lens hoods too. What I'm going to show you is the difference between these three setups, and it's pretty dramatic. So with a low light or low sun, no hood or regular hood isn't going to cut it, but the long hood will give you usable photos. Obviously when the sun is high in the sky, which I try to replicate here, the long hood is going to be even better. Now I did do additional testing, so if you want to see kind of a deep dive where I show the sharpness and flare of kind of two similar lenses side by side and kind of really geeking out, I'll record an extra video for my patrons and I'll give you free access. I'll put a link to it below so you can check that out if you're interested. Okay, so the final verdict, what were my conclusions from the test? If you prefer to not use a lens hood, lenses like the Light Lens Lab L-Can replica, the modern one, you can buy it in M-mount and screw mount. I can put a link below if you're interested. The vintage Nikkor SC 51.4, which is a sonar kind of replica, but better in my mind, or the Nikkor HC 50F2. All three lenses perform very well because of their lens coatings and didn't suffer from flare like the other lenses. Now, if you've ever bought a Leica 3 camera, there's a good chance you own a Leica Elmar lens or an Industar lens if you've got the Soviet cameras. If you can find one of these telescopic lens hoods on eBay, add that to your existing lens. These lenses are both small but also very capable once you've attached the longer lens hood, as I've shown. Absolutely love the size of the Leica Elmar lens. I think it's the smallest lens ever made for the Leica screw mount or M mount, and you can see it here next to the Nikkor. Now the Nikkor is obviously faster, so if you're shooting at wide apertures, the Nikkor is going to win, but if you're happy at f3.5, the Elmar can hold its own. I have done a video on the Leica Elmar lens before, but they basically come in coated and uncoated, and they are very similar to the Industar lenses, but the Industar lenses are even cheaper and they give a warmer rendering. You can use these lenses obviously on your digital camera, and one question I'm always asked is, Matt, can you collapse them on your digital camera? The answer is yes, as you can see here from my demonstration on the SL. Here you can see the Industars next to the Elmar lens. I can put a link below to these videos, and as always, a huge thanks to my awesome patrons. Thanks for watching, see you in the next video.